So first thing I'm going to say is how you win the game. Homeworlds is called Homeworlds because each side of this board, each of the two players has a home world. And in the space theme that we're talking about, the home world is where your people live in space. And so what you are trying to do is protect your home world. And the way that you lose is by losing your home. And you can lose your home world either by actually having the star system that you live at be blown up, or by losing all of your people so that there are no people left at your home world. Um, if either of those two things happens, you lost. Okay, to start, you set up your bank like this. It's just three of each size and color. So there's three large, three medium, three small of green, red, yellow, and blue. Good. Okay, so that's the first thing you do to set up. The second thing in the book here, you will see that it says the first turn, and this bullet down on the bottom says, choosing your homeworld, the decisions you make during setup will greatly affect the entire game. You need to make smart choices when deciding on the colors and sizes of your homeworld stars and the color of your large ship. See strategy tips on page 20. Now, page 20 is in that 201 part. So we're going to learn how to pick the best homeworld later. For right now, we're going to read this next part, which is, if this is your first game, we suggest both players start with a large green ship and one player starting with a large blue, small red homeworld, and the other player starting with a medium red, small blue homeworld. Okay? Now, some terminology here. Ships are laying down. That's how you know they're a ship. If they're pointing towards you, they're the opponents, and if they're pointing away from you, they're yours. So your ships are going out into the world away from you. Homeworlds are what's called binary stars, but they're just a type of star. Stars are anything that are standing upright. So that is a star, right? Anything upright is a star, and homeworlds are the only ones that will be binary or two-piece stars. Okay, I'll explain more about why that's important later, but for now, we're just going to set up this setup. So I'll make sure everything is in the screen. It's a little bit tight, but can everybody see both this player's and this player's setup? Yep, okay, good. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're going to make this player, you all, as a group, hive mind, and this player will be me, and we'll just kind of play around, okay? So we've covered setup. I'm going to now I'll go first. And so next we're going to just do some things. Starting with learning what these four colors have, what powers they have, because every color gives you something that you can do. So green, I think of green as like, growing trees and, money and I don't know, things that grow, right? Green builds in this game. It grows a new ship. So that's kind of how I remember the green, is that it builds new things. It's growing and expanding. Red, what do you suppose red might color-wise represent?
Attack.
Exactly. So red attacks, and it in this game, attacking actually means capturing. So like in chess, say, when you attack, you actually just knock that piece off the board completely. But in Homeworlds, when you attack, you capture that piece and it becomes yours. Okay. Um, yellow, yellow is for movement. And the way that I remember what yellow means is that it makes me think of like the color of gasoline or petrol.
Hmm.
Um, so it's what makes you go. You could use whatever you want to remember, but that's what makes me. And lastly, blue um, is the one that might be hardest to remember what it stands for, but it is trading. And I'll tell you that this game originally, when John Cooper was designing it a long, long time ago, he originally was calling it Ice Traders. And that's because these pyramids back at the time, now they're just called Looney Pyramids, but back then they were called ice house pieces. And so the game that he was making, he was calling Ice Traders. And so these blue pieces, that's why blue represents the traders because ice. So that's kind of how you can remember that blue means trade. Okay, let's start. So it's my turn. This is my setup. And right now I have three powers. I have green. So what does green let me do?
Grow.
Build another ship.
Yep. I have red. What does that let me do?
Capture.
Take.
Uh-huh. And I have blue. What does that let me do?
Trade.
Trade.
Yep. Okay. So if I think right now about all the possible things that I could do, I could capture a ship, but the only ship here is my own. So there's nothing to capture. So that one doesn't work. I could trade. That would mean change this ship to a different color. But if that was the case, why didn't I just start with that color for my original setup, right?
Mhm.
So it would be wasting to trade a color now. I should have just set it up if I wanted a different color. So trade isn't the one we want to do. So that leaves build. So you'll find that in almost all games, your second move is to build another ship. When you're building a ship, the way that Andy describes it is you're taking parts from the ships you have to build another ship. So that means that you can't build any color except for green because you only have a green ship to take parts from. So that means you're going to build a green. And when you build it, you have to take the smallest size available. So in this case, the smallest size available is a 1 pip one. And so we're going to build it right there. And that's our turn. Okay. Or that's my turn, I should say. Now it's you guys' turn. So what possible things could you guys do?
Build.
We
Yep,
could build, we could trade for a different ship.
yep. And just like before, if you were going to trade, you might as well have just started with a different color, right? So probably you're going to do the same thing. You're going to build. Now, same thing, you have a green ship, which means you can only build green. And is still another small in here, so you're going to have to build a small too. Okay, those first two moves, the setup and this move, they're kind of boring. They almost always happen the same way. But now it starts getting interesting. Now it's my turn again. I have that power of red, and I should say that you get the power of the star system that you're in and any ships that you own. But if you happen to be in a system where there are ships that somebody else owns, that the opponent owns, you don't get to use those powers. Okay, but so I have three of the four powers here. I have the capture, I have the trade, and I have the build. So one thing I could do right now is build if I built, I would have to build another green because I only have green ships to take parts from, and it would have to be another small. Or I could capture, except for that there's nothing in here that is an enemy, so there's nothing to capture. Or I could trade. I'm going to choose to trade right now because I want to have all the powers. So I'm going to take this little green ship that I built last time, and I'm going to trade it for yellow. When you trade for the same size. So I have to trade it for a yellow small. And now that gives me the power to move also. So I have all the powers now, and that is what you can call a happy star system because it's got all 4 colors in it. Happy star system also doesn't have too many of anything. One of each is like the perfect setup. Because if you have too many of things, it will bite you in the butt later, and I'll cover that later. But for now, we're just playing around, and I've taken my turn, and now it's you guys' turn. So you have the same options I did. The red isn't going to do you any good because there's nothing to capture, but you could trade or you could build. Wait,
If you were to move, you can't move. You would have to move to like a medium-sized thing before you could get to us, correct?
I will get there, yep, in a little bit. But yeah, I cannot get to you right now.
Okay. So I would say build myself because then we're at least not taking that last little 1 pip spaceship for green and then leaving you the second rung. But that's me. I'm not sure what the consensus of the group is.
Okay, so yeah, so there's actually 2 little 1 pips now because I gave mine back, which is actually good because yeah, you don't want to give me the chance to build a bigger one next time, right? So everyone okay with that choice? You want to build a 3rd green here?
Sure.
Sure.
Let's go for it.
Just
All
to be
right.
different.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, we are just playing around here. Okay, so it's back to me. Um, I I'll warn you right now. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to set up scenarios. And to do that, I'm going to do a lot of bad strategy playing. So the move that I'm going to take right now isn't really the move I would take in a real game, but it's the move I'm going to take to show how things work. Okay?
That's okay. We're noobs. We don't know better.
Okay, I'm going to choose to use my new yellow move power to move my yellow someplace else. Now, when you move, Nick brought this up a little bit, but when you move, you have to move to a star system that is different from yours. So since my star system is a small and a large, I need to go to something that is not a small and not a large. So it's got to be a medium. Okay.
Mhm.
So when I move
Okay, so
out,
it's only different in pip size, but not in color.
correct, yes. Only in size. So my yellow is going to move out to a medium star, and I get to choose which medium star to use. So long as it's in the bank, I can use it. If one of these was out of if one of these colors didn't have any mediums, then that wouldn't be a choice. But I have a choice, and so I am going to choose green. And I'm going to do that so that maybe I could build some more ships there later if I want to. Now you notice that this came out closer to you guys. That's because I am 1 step closer to getting to you. Now, your homeworld is a small medium, which means that you guys, when you're starting out, you're going to go to a what?
Large.
Exactly. So you're going to go to a large, I can't get directly to a large. I have to go to the medium, but then from the medium, I could go to a large because that's a different size. So in most games, until you get to higher strategy levels, you'll always be 3 steps away from your opponent. You have to come out, you have to go to the one that they come out to, and then to them. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've taken my turn. I moved. It's you guys' turn. I'm going to tell you something a little bit early. I usually wait to tell about catastrophes until later, but I don't want you guys to make one right now. So I'm going to tell it right now, which is this. If you ever have 4 of the same color in your star system, whether it's your homeworld or any other star system, and it can include the colors in your star, if you ever have 4, then that creates a catastrophe situation where we have an overpopulated star system and it can take everybody out. It can only do that if the opponent calls for the catastrophe, but they almost always do. So you do have the option to build right now, but if you build one more, I'm going to call catastrophe. That's going to wipe out all of those. Your homeworld is going to be empty and I'll win. So,
Right now, building is bad. Got it.
yeah. So, although you can build right now, I highly recommend against it. So, that
So the only available move is trading.
exactly. So, now you get to decide, do you want to trade one of your smalls or your large, and what color do you want to trade it for?
Let's trade a small.
Okay, we're going to trade a small. Do you want to trade it for capture, movement, or trading?
Let's go for movement so we can get out of there.
Mhm.
Okay, it's back to me. I have to decide what to do. I'm feeling like, well, darn, I moved my yellow out of my homeworld. Now my homeworld doesn't have movement again. So what can I do about that? I could build, but I can't build a yellow because there's no yellow here. So I could build a green, and then next turn I could trade it to a yellow. Or I could build a yellow here, and then next turn move it back if I wanted.
Hmm.
And I think I'm going to choose to build the yellow here because being more forward in the game often is helpful. Not always, but sometimes. But notice that I'm giving you guys a nice thing because when I build, I can build a yellow because I got a yellow ship. I have to build the smallest size, which is small. I'm going to put that there. It's your turn. And now all the smalls are gone and there's a medium available.
I
So
guess we got to take that.
you don't have to, but it's probably a good move. Whenever you have the ability to gain a pip or 2 on your opponent, it's a favorable thing to do most of the time. So I would recommend grabbing this medium yellow, but what other options do you have? Because this is one of the things that I feel like is the first part of learning homeworlds is to think, what can I possibly do each turn? So what are the possible things you can do right now?
Hmm.
We can
Well, we
trade
could
out the ones we
grow.
have.
We could trade what we have.
Yep. So you could trade either of the greens or the yellow. As we've already said, you could build a yellow.
We can move our little guy out to a new star.
You could. You could move any of them actually out to a new star.
Hmm.
Because this yellow power goes to anything in your fleet.
So we could kick our small green out to a new star if we wanted to.
You could. You could also build a small green.
Mhm.
So
Ooh,
you,
we could build another. We could build a medium yellow now.
yes. So you could build a small green or a medium yellow. You could move any one of those ships out to a new star, or you could trade any one of those ships for a different color. All right. Anybody have a preference? Yeah, Don?
I mean, granted, I'm new and I'm crappy at this game, but it seems like you mentioned it's always best to kind of get some extra pips when you can. So if we can start building mediums, then let's go for that.
Okay.
And we can always swap them out later with our trade
Yeah.
power.
Okay, let's do it. So you're going to use the power of green to build. You're going to use the parts from your yellow ship to build another yellow ship. And the smallest one available was a medium, so that's what you're building. Nice. Okay, my turn. So again, I'm going to play badly just to mess around with things.
We need the help.
And I'm gonna say, ooh, I could get a medium yellow too. I'm going to do that. Now, can I put a medium yellow here at my,
Nope.
Nope.
why not?
You don't
Because
have
there's
yellow.
no yellow from which to mine the parts.
Exactly. But I can put it here because I have yellow to mine the parts and I have green to build. So I'm going to put it there. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be all proud of myself for having a 2-pointer.
I know the answer to this one.
Okay, well, hold on for a minute then. Let other people think it through.
Okay.
But there is a bad thing that you guys could do to me right now. And I will let Nick say it in a minute.
Okay.
But actually, I just realized there's something that that not everybody does that is a reason why he knows what to do. That is because
There's one rule that is we need to know. Yeah,
say again.
there is one rule that we need to know about.
Yes,
For
yes,
that
one
rule.
more exactly, and that is sacrificing. So when you sacrifice, you take one of your ships, you put it back in the bank, and you get the power of that ship's color anywhere in your whole universe, in the number of the pips. So for example, if you were to sacrifice your large green, it would go back in the bank, and that would give you 3, because 3 pips, 3 growth options anywhere in your universe. Since you guys only have the one place, let's pretend it's mine. If I were to sacrifice this, which I should not do, because why?
It's
You
less
The
than your
moment there's
homeworld.
not a ship there, yeah.
Yeah, I will leave my homeworld alone and I will lose the game. But if I did do that, it would give me 3 builds, and I could build here, or if I had another ship here, I could build here. Same with if you sacrifice a yellow. If I sacrifice this small yellow, I would get to do 1 movement anywhere in the universe. If I sacrifice the medium yellow, I would get to do 2 movements anywhere in the universe.
So I see what they're talking about now that you've mentioned that rule.
Okay. So
Of
Marissa,
potential
the
terrible
first part,
things
and I'm
to
going to
do,
let Nick
not
finish
going
it
to
up.
do.
Say again?
Of potential terrible things to do that we're not going to do here.
Oh no, you should go ahead and do it if you want.
Nah.
All right, Nick, tell us what is it?
Well, I mean, it seems like if we sacrifice the 2-pip yellow, then we could move the small yellow to a large and then to your green star. And then we can declare a catastrophe
Yep.
and
Right.
eliminate everything.
You're
We're
gonna-
almost back to the beginning game state should we do that, but
Yeah.
it is a thing that we could do. We're not that
Almost.
far in anyways.
It puts
So
me ahead of-
sacrificing the yellow, we would have to travel to a large first, abandon the large, then land at your medium,
Mhm.
overpopulate that, and then we're up what? 1 piece? So it's almost as if we started first instead of second.
Yeah, sort of.
Exactly.
Huh? So you want to do it just to get the practice of doing it?
Certainly.
Wait, hold on. I mean, it's up to consensus here, but
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
almost of the mind that I'd like to see more pieces on the board.
Okay. Well, okay then. You guys okay with that? You want to build instead?
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Are we
Okay.
talking building or are we talking moving?
It's up to consensus.
I kind of agree with Don. I do think that it will be more interesting to have more pieces on the board.
Okay.
And I mean, you couldn't catastrophe us in the next turn because your 2 pips would only bring you to a large star anyways.
That's true.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like what you're doing is you're giving us the procedural learning. You're giving us the step in which we should actually take. But I think that we are going to vote against that.
I'm perfectly fine with
We
that.
are voting against education, and we are just going to
No,
wing it.
no, this is the education. The playing around with the game. That's what I want you to do right now, because I feel like that's the best way to learn is just do stuff, right? Okay, so I think I hear that you guys want to build. What can you build?
Any color.
Greens or yellows?
Okay,
Oh
so
yeah, we cannot build the star colors. That's right.
right. So the star does give you powers. So the star gives you the power of blue and of red, but the star does not give you pieces of a ship to build something.
Right.
Mhm.
So yes, you can build either green or yellow. If you build green, you're going to build a small, and if you build yellow, you're going to build the last 2-point yellow.
We could also move to a new
Mhm.
star.
That's also true. Would you prefer to do that?
What if we moved the little green to a large yellow, and then we were to? No,
Okay,
never mind. That doesn't make sense. Does it?
fine to me. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Sure.
that work? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to use the power of yellow in your system to move this little green star. Because you are at a 1-2 homeworld, you have to move to a 3. You're saying you would like it to be yellow. That makes sense to me because that means that you can still move around from there.
Mhm.
Okay,
And with that ship there, we can build more ships.
that's absolutely true because you've got the power of green. Okay, nice move. All right, it's my turn. So little old me who was excited about taking that 2-point yellow has learned her lesson. She is not going to build another yellow there. And she is going to get out of Dodge before somebody blows her up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these back over here because that was really what I was trying to do before, right? Is get all of my colors in my homeworld.
Mhm.
I have to decide whether I'm going to take the small or the medium. I think I'm going to take the small because I want as much power forward as I can. That might be a mistake because I might lose my medium out there in space, but we'll see what happens. But I used the power of yellow to move back. I was at a 2, and this is a 1-3, so that is an okay move. And now my home world is a happy star system with all one each of all 4 colors. All right, your turn. Let's start taking turns. Let's have
Okay.
Marissa play this round.
Okay. Let's see here.
And you can get advice from anybody you want.
Uh, let's build a green at Yellow Station.
Build a green here. Okay.
Mhm.
So, yep, you can do that because you got the color of green. What colors can you build here?
Green.
That's it, just green because you've only got a green ship to pull parts from. And what size can you build?
Just the small.
Only the small because you got to build the smallest one you got. Okay, well done. My turn. Okay. I'm gonna just start messing with things again.
Ori, don't let us win.
see, you never know how it's going to go. Usually I win even when I mess with things because you guys are brand new, but you never know, you might win. All right. I am going to sacrifice this yellow two, this medium yellow. That goes back in the bank and it gives me 2 moves anywhere in my universe. So I could move this one, or this one. I can move any of them 2 spaces, or I can move 2 of them 1 space each because I have 2 moves.
Mhm.
I'm going to use it to move this one 2 spaces. So first, I'm at a medium and I'm going to a large. Is that allowed?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That was my first move. And I had the power to do it because I am a yellow. I still have the power to move because I'm still a yellow. I'm going from this large to your homeworld that's a 1-2. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So here I am saying hello. Also, this star has nothing at it now.
Mhm.
When that happens, that star comes off the map. A lot of people say it's abandoned, but really it is abandoned in that there's no people at that star. But the reason why it comes off the map, it's not destroyed or anything. It's just that the way it's described is this is a map of the known civilized universe. And since there's no people there, we don't need to have it on our map. It's not important. So that's an interesting point, though, because when you abandon a star and it goes back into the bank, that means it's now available if you end up building again, right?
Mhm.
It's not available right now because there's a small in front of it, but sometimes that becomes useful. And sometimes it's useful the other way around. Like, let's say that this, instead of being a medium green, if it was a small yellow, then when it went back in the bank, it would block you from being able to get those mediums that you could get right now. So sometimes you'll do something like that just to change the way the bank is. Okay, so I went my 2 spaces because of my sacrifice. I abandoned that star and it went back to the bank. I am now in your home world. That was a stupid move. I shouldn't have done it, but it gives you some interesting things to think about. So let's think about, is this bad for you or not? Like, what could I possibly do to you? Why would I have made that move? What was I thinking, right?
Potentially to just add more yellows to the system well, we can't build any more yellows or we risk overpopulation. So it blocks us from building yellows.
It does. That's true. Because if you built another yellow here, that would be 4 yellows in the system and all the yellows would go away.
So if you really, really, really didn't want us to build yellows, that would be a move.
It's true. Yep. Also, on my turn, could I build another yellow there?
No.
No,
Why not?
because the
You
star
are
doesn't have the power of growth.
That's right. So I get the power of my ship and the star, but I do not get the power of your ships. So I can't grow here unless if I sacrificed this one,
Oh,
then I could grow. But that
Oh,
would
dang.
be costly, right? To sacrifice my biggest ship in my world. I probably don't want to do that. But I might. So you have to
The
take
catastrophe would only remove those ships too, so you wouldn't really gain any damage to our homeworld.
it wouldn't kill you, but it would leave only 1 ship in your homeworld, and it would mean that you lost 3 pips worth of ships, a 2 and a 1. So
But like, so right now there are how many ships, yellow ships in the bank? I can see like 2
there are
yellow
3,
mediums and
1,
2 yellow
2,
larges, right?
3. Yeah. So 1 more would cause that catastrophe to happen.
No, in the bank. So there are
Oh,
2
sorry, in
yellow
the
mediums
bank.
and 2 larges. Yeah.
There are 2 mediums and 2 larges in the bank.
So if you were to sacrifice the green, you could build uh, one yellow medium in our homeworld, one yellow medium in your homeworld, and one large medium in your homeworld, and then called catastrophe, right?
You're right. And that is probably exactly what I would do if I chose to sacrifice my
Mm.
green. Because, yeah, that would get me a large back over here, right? It would be a large yellow now, but I would have a large still in my home world, and I would have caused that catastrophe. Nice thing.
Ah.
Yeah.
But if you were to build one first in our homeworld and call catastrophe, and then build in your homeworld next, then you wouldn't be able to get the largest.
That's a really good point. Because if I call the catastrophe first, there will be smalls in here, right? So I have to think about my order of doing things. That's a really good point. Did everybody follow what he's talking about?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So I have done this thing. It is a threat, but it's you guys have to decide how much of a threat it is. Marissa played last time. Amartya, I think I'm gonna have you play this time.
Okay. Um, so all the possibilities that we considered involved Laurie having control over that yellow ship. So if we were to capture that yellow ship, then possibly all of that crisis would be averted.
Yes.
So yeah, I would capture this yellow ship.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk this through a little bit before we do it. Because we
Okay.
have the power of red, or you guys have the power of red, you
Mhm.
have the ability to capture this one. Because you have the power of blue, another possibility to mitigate the threat would be to change one of these yellows to a different color. Because you have the power of green, you could build, but that wouldn't solve your yellow situation.
Mm-mm.
And because you have the power of yellow, you could potentially move one of these ships out to solve the problem. But I like what you're thinking, Amartya, and that's to capture, and that, especially since we haven't done that yet. So when you capture, this ship doesn't go away, it becomes yours. So it's going to come around here and turn the other direction, and you're going to say thank you for the nice, neat ship.
Thank you.
Now you've got three yellows. There's still a catastrophe problem there, but at least you own all the ships, so I can't go ahead and build next turn, right? And I don't have a way right now to get all the way to you with my other yellow. So you've solved the problem for the moment. Well done. Okay, my turn. And I'm looking at this here and I'm thinking, wow, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ships to my 2. Not doing so well. I'm getting nervous, and so I'm just going to build for points. And that means I could build either a green or a yellow, but I'm going to choose to build a yellow because that gets me 2 pips. And it's back over to you. All right, Nick, what do you want to do?
Okay, well, let's see. It seems like it might be a good idea to move one of those yellows out of our homeworld, just in case we get into any other
Yep, that makes sense.
situations. So I would say, shall we move one of the small ones to a large green?
Okay, so you're able to do that because you have the power of yellow. You're right that you have to move to a large because you're at a 1, 2. And a green is a fine choice. You could have moved to the one that already existed, but you can also move to a new one. Having multiple stars out there is usually a safer option because you're less likely to have that catastrophe kind of situation happen. Okay, well done. My turn. I'm still nervous.
Mhm. I'd just like to say the pieces look so beautiful. This is one of the things that attracted me to Homeworlds, just how beautiful everything looks.
Isn't it true? Yeah. So whenever possible, you want to keep things down to just one of each color. So I'm going to move this guy out. I'm at a 1, 3, so I have to move to a 2, a medium. And let's just change things up a little bit and go to a red, because I'm a little bit nervous that you're going to try to get over here and take my ship. Now, I haven't said something about captures, and that is you can only capture a ship that is the same size or smaller than you. So if on your turn you decided to move this little yellow into my system, you could not capture me. But if you somehow got this one there, it would take a couple of turns, but if you got a medium there, you could capture me. Something else that you need to know about captures that throws off new people all the time is you can't capture on the same turn that you move because you only have one action each turn. So let's pretend that this is large enough to attack that one and you move it in. Well, you can't capture now because it's my turn. Instead, I might choose to capture you. So you have to keep in mind that sometimes captures don't end the way you expect them to.
Right. But if you were to move a large yellow to that
If you
star,
move the
then we would.
large here, I could not capture you because my ship would not be big enough to do it. So that would be safer.
So that's where the size comes in.
Yes, yes. So the size comes in both for being able to capture and for the amount of power you get from a sacrifice.
Yes, true.
Okay, it's you guys' turn. I think we'll make this the last turn because I think you've learned most of what you need to learn here. And that would make it Dawn's turn to decide what to do. What would you like to do, Dawn?
All right. I'm noticing that we have everywhere, you and us alike have a giant lack of blue going on right now. Maybe having some blue available to us would help. Although I'm looking at, it's hard to see what the bank is doing right now, but
Here, let me pull it up closer for you.
oh, okay. All right. So there's one yellow left. Okay. So
There's one medium yellow, yeah.
one medium yellow left before the larges. We have an advantage on ships, so I think it's time to diversify. And I'm thinking trading our small yellow for a small blue in our home world.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the only place you can do it because that's the only place you have the power of blue. All right, so you want to change this small yellow and you have to change it to the same size. So you're going to change it to a small blue. This yellow goes back into the bank, which is another added bonus. Do you see what it is?
Yeah, now there's 2 steps before large yellows.
Exactly.
Right.
So if I build, I have to build a small instead of the medium that I could have built a little bit ago. Okay, I think that's a nice move. Well done. Okay. We could keep going back and forth, but I think you've got the basics and it's been about an hour. The last thing I want to cover before we go for today is there's a page in here called Common Mistakes. And I want to cover that page real quick. So the most common mistakes that new players make. First one is can't move there. What that is they try to move to a star that is the same size as the star they're at. So keep in mind that you can't go to a star that's the same size. I think you guys have that one down. The next one is can't do that. So that's where you try to do something that's of a power that you don't have. Like maybe you're thinking that you can use the power that of the other person's ships, or maybe you're thinking you're just not thinking about the fact that you don't have that color in this system. Like maybe you try to change this for something, but you're not thinking that you don't have blue in that star system, right? So just keep in mind, you have to make sure that you have that power in that system. Okay, the third one is can't build that. And that is thinking maybe that you could build like maybe in this star system, you think, well, I will build a red. Well, you can't build a red because you don't have the parts of a red. Or more commonly, people will say, I will build a yellow here because they do have yellow in there, but you can't do that because it's got to come from a ship, right? So that's another one to think about. And the last one is can't capture yet. And that's what we just talked about, that capturing really takes 2 turns to do. First, you have to move into the system, and then the next turn you capture. And sometimes that can be dangerous because in between, when your opponent takes a turn, they might do something you don't want them to do. Okay. So those are the common mistakes. The page after that, I don't know if any of you have Homeworlds players around you that are better than you. But if you practice with someone who's got more experience than you at Homeworlds, you can use this page, the novice versus expert page, to help even the playing field a little bit. There's a few ways to do that. The first one they give is the second turn time warp. After both players have built their homeworlds, the junior officer may be allowed to perform 1 or more bonus turns, so to get ahead faster. So maybe after the homeworlds are built, you guys take 3 turns before the expert takes a turn, right? Another way you can do it is called the red alert, which is sort of like calling check in chess. So if you're playing with an opponent who's stronger than you, they might give you the courtesy of saying red alert if they're about to hurt you in some bad way, so that you'll at least be prepared to think about what is this threat that I'm not seeing. Another way is brain transference. I love this one. The junior officer is given 1 chance at some point during the game to completely change places with the senior officer for the remainder of the game. So, like, let's say that I'm the junior officer. I'm the not as good player in this circumstance because obviously you guys are killing me. As the junior officer, I could say, okay, I'm calling brain transference, and now I'm playing this side and you're playing that side. So that's an interesting way to practice with somebody who, like, especially when it's looking imminent that they're going to take you out. If you call brain transference, see if they can come back from it. And then the last one is tactical computer. The junior officer is given 1 or more token, which they can spend to ask the senior officer what they would do if the positions were reversed. So you can get however many tokens you guys decide on beforehand, and you can use them to get all the advice that the other player might have to give, and they might not want to give it to you because they were planning something and all of a sudden they can't. But those are some fun ways to play with stronger players to get some practice. Okay. I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover for today. Before I say my last things, do you have any questions or concerns?
I thought that was a really good intro.
Excellent. Yay.
I've got the basic vibes.
Excellent.
Yes.
That's great. Okay. So the only other thing I want to say now is that keep practicing between now and the 201, and I hope you come back for the 201. But between now and then, keep practicing. If you have your own homeworld set, lay it out and play both sides like we've been doing here, or play with a friend, or do whatever you want to do, but just keep playing around with it. See if you can get all the way to an ending condition on either side. Play both sides and see if you can take either side out. If you don't have a homeworld set, there's a fan that goes by the last 19 digits of pi. His real name is Croy, and he made a homeworlds as part of a class project. He was in college. I think he's out of college now, but he was in college at the time. He was only 19 when he did this. But as a class project, he made a homeworlds playing site. There are other sites that have kind of taken over for playing in general, but what he made that I really like is he calls it the sandbox. And the sandbox just lets you play around with the pyramids like we have been doing. So instead of taking official turns or whatever, you can just play around. And so I'm going to be probably tomorrow, I will send you guys a link to the sandbox. And I recommend that you either play in the sandbox or with your own pieces, either play by yourself or with whoever you can find to play with you. If they're way better than you, make sure that they use some of these novice versus expert things so that you don't get overwhelmed. And
Are you talking about the Homeworlds Live, homeworlds.live
yeah,
website?
yes, that's it. There. Oh, thank you. All right. So yeah, thank you. There's the link right
Oh, yeah,
there.
great.
And so you go to the sandbox area, and that will give you a way to play if you don't have your own pyramids. If you do have your own pyramids, which is better? I always think that the pyramids themselves, like you said, they're so pretty and everything, are better. But if you're planning on playing online a lot, you might want to get used to the way that they're represented online. So you might want to play there. Up to you.
Yeah, I was aware of these, but I still bought the physical game because I see Looney Pyramids as like buying playing cards because there is so many more games you can play with them.
Exactly.
So
That's exactly right.
100%. I'm a big fan of Treehouse.
Excellent. Yeah, and you can play Treehouse. You'll need to use a six-sided die and assign the movements to the die. But otherwise, you can play Treehouse with a Homeworld set. You can play Jinx with a Homeworld set. You can play a lot of different things with a Homeworld set. So welcome to the world of pyramids and to Homeworlds. And I look forward to going into the strategy side of things in a couple, no, I guess a week from now. All right. Until then, thanks a lot and have fun. And feel free to email me with questions if you have any, or we can cover them next week or the week after.
Thank you so much, Laurie.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
This was
Thank you.
illuminating.